You're listening to Self-Leadership with Dr. Bensmann, the podcast for entrepreneurial minds. How protected is your attention, really, against information overload, misinformation, and the next deepfake headline? Are you partnering with AI consciously, or are you swinging between hype and avoidance? And when uncertainty, polarization, and pressure rise, do you have routines that keep you grounded and capable of action? Welcome to a new episode of Self-Leadership with Dr. Bensmann, where we explore how mastering self-leadership helps you thrive in all areas of life, especially when the world feels noisy and unstable. I'm Burkhard Bensmann, consultant, executive coach, and professor. I work with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and public leaders, often in demanding transition situations. Today's episode is based on my eBook, Lead Yourself in a Crazy World, Practical Self-Leadership for CEOs, Entrepreneurs, and Public Leaders. The core message: you can't control the outer storm, but you can learn to sail in it. The book is written for the reality many leaders face right now: acceleration, fragmentation, and unpredictability, and the pressure of being expected to deliver results, stay calm, and still look optimistic while the ground keeps shifting. So this episode will move through the book's core structure: 5 concrete leadership challenges of our time, plus a compact toolbox and a simple framework, the 7 fields of self-leadership, which you know by now. As always, this is not theory for theory's sake. This is not typical for me. So each segment ends with small, very practical moves that you can test immediately. Many leaders tell me things like, I go through 200 emails and I still feel behind. Or everyone expects me to have an AI strategy, but I barely have time to think about it. This world creates a risk that's very subtle. You still function, but you slowly shift from leading to reacting until you notice you've lost your inner direction. So the premise of this book and of this episode is simple. Self-leadership is no longer a private nice-to-have. It's a board-level, a C-level capability for sustainable performance and well-being. And in my work, self-leadership means attitudes and methods for goal-oriented leadership of oneself, based on self-awareness, self-responsibility, and self-direction. So let's walk through the 5 challenge areas. Number 1, protect your mind. The first challenge is information chaos. Too much input, too many channels, and a rising uncertainty about what's real. The book points out that AI-generated text, images, audio, and video raise the stakes. Deepfakes and disinformation campaigns can directly attack trust and decision quality. The self-leadership move here is to treat attention as a scarce strategic resource, something you actively govern, not something you surrender to your inbox and the news cycle and the doom scrolling. The book offers 3 practical elements: a personal attention framework, a simple trust filter, and a short clarity ritual. Small moves for this week, like a 1-week experiment for you. Fix 2 email windows per day instead of continuous checking. Schedule 1 60-minute deep work block per day with notifications off. And each evening, write down 3 lines what really mattered today. And here's the reflection question: Where is attention leaking most in your day? And what rule would protect it without needing much willpower? Where is attention leaking most in your day? And what rule would protect it without needing so much willpower? Challenge number 2, partner with the machines. The second challenge is AI is already in everyday work, often before leaders have had time to form a real stance, a position, and at the same time, cyber risks evolve quickly. In the book, this shows up as a common inner triangle: curiosity, anxiety, and overload, often leading either to tech hype or to tech denial. The goal is not to become an AI engineer or programmer. The goal is to relate to AI as a leader consciously. 3 moves are central. Clarify your personal AI stance, build a minimal tech cockpit, and treat cyber risk as part of self-leadership hygiene. So small moves for this week. Write a half-page AI stance or personal AI manifest with 3 zones. Green, active use of AI. Yellow, careful experiments. And red, no use. Define your 3 to 5 core tools. Few tools used deeply and consistently. No hopping. And agree on a simple verification rule for critical requests, especially unusual urgency or financial instructions, things like that. Reflection question: where would a clearer AI boundary reduce stress immediately without reducing performance? I say it again. Where would a clearer AI boundary reduce stress immediately without reducing performance? And number 3, steady in the storm. Challenge 3 is the poly crisis. Overlapping disruptions, geopolitics, regulation, climate risks, tech shocks, creating permanent instability. In that environment, many leaders shrink their time horizon and respond with more control, more reporting, more firefighting, while their fatigue rises. The self-leadership focus is keeping an inner compass in unstable conditions. The book highlights 3 practices. Distinguish concern from influence. Use mission, vision, and values as living tools, and establish decision routines under uncertainty. So, small moves for this week. Map your worries into 3 columns: concern, direct influence, indirect influence, and review weekly where your time went. I say this again: map your worries in 3 columns: concern, direct influence, indirect influence, and review weekly where your time went. Then write half a page on mission, your personal mission, and half a page on your 5 to 7 year vision. Mark what is non-negotiable versus adaptable. And small move for this week, number 3, use a 1-page decision log. Decide, document reasoning, set a review date. So what did you decide? And what was the reasoning behind that? And of course, check it again. A 1-page decision log. So here's a reflection question to this challenge of the poly crisis, the storm. Reflection question: which decision are you delaying because you want certainty, when you actually need a routine for good enough? I say this again. Which decision are you delaying because you want certainty when you actually need a routine for good enough and not 100%? So, number 4, stay grounded in a polarized world. The challenge is polarization, outrage dynamics, and fragile trust. Leaders can feel that one misstep becomes a public storm, which tempts them into vagueness or into defense communication that disconnects them from their own values. The book frames the antidote as inner stability and clarity of stance. 3 supports. Define your personal police line or non-negotiables. Train inner distance to outrage dynamics. And practice respectful, clear communication under pressure. I say these again. 3 supports. Define your personal police line or your non-negotiables, your stance. Train inner distance to outrage dynamics. Maybe not so much doom scrolling in social media. And practice respectful, clear communication under pressure. Small moves for this week. Pick one issue that deeply matters to you and write 2 to 3 simple sentences as your stance. Internal clarity first and public relation later. Number 2, choose one platform or source you stop checking daily to reduce outrage exposure. This one is not easy for me. Choose one platform or source you stop checking daily to reduce outrage exposure. And number 3, small move. After tense interactions, review, did I stay aligned with my values? What would I adjust next time? I say it again. After tense interactions, review, did I stay aligned with my values? And what would I adjust next time? And the reflection question here, where are you currently performing leadership instead of speaking and acting from a clear inner line? I say it again, where are you currently performing leadership instead of speaking and acting from a clear inner line? Number 5, take care of the instrument, yourself. Challenge 5 is exhaustion and alienation. You feel exhausted. Leaders functioning while slowly losing themselves. The book describes typical drivers: the always-on culture, blurred boundaries, continuous crisis mode, permanent evaluation, and rising burnout symptoms. Here, self-leadership becomes very concrete. Treat body, soul, and mind as your core instrument. It's you, yourself. The book emphasizes body rhythms, inner narratives, and self-efficacy, meaning as a flow between life areas, and the courage to rest and to say no. I'm not talking about work-life balance. I think it's better to have this kind of flow between the life areas. Small moves, kind of a 4-week rhythm. Week number 1, stabilize one body routine. For example, daily 20-minute walk or fixed weekday bedtime. Week number 2, reframe one limiting inner sentence per day into a realistic, learnable version. Week number 3, a weekly check which life area is undernourished and one small action to feed it. And week number 4, protect one device-free hour in a quiet place. Rest as a precondition, not a reward. And the reflection question here is, what would change if rest was treated like strategy scheduled, protected, and non-negotiable. I repeat this one. What would change if rest was treated like strategy, scheduled, protected, and non-negotiable? Yeah, that was the 5 challenges. And now the book talks about the toolbox and the 7 fields framework. So after these 5 challenges, there is a practical tools section like drafting your mission, creating a personal vision, a relevance check, a media diet, an AI radar, a personal planning day, and a mental immune system with micro practices. To integrate everything, it introduces the 7 fields of self-leadership. You know them already, I hope. Vision and mission, body, soul, and mind, competencies and self-development, co-workers, partners, networks, and processes, structures, projects, and products. And finally, field number 7, added value. A simple self-check is suggested in the book once or twice per year. Rate each field from 1 to 10, pick 2 priority areas, and define small, concrete actions. Then repeat to observe patterns over time. This turns leadership into a kind of renewable practice, a system you revisit and refine. A hint, you can use the episode SL019, Control Yourself with the 7 Fields of Self-Leadership. I put the link in the show notes. Small move for tomorrow or today. Rate the 7 fields quickly. Gut feeling is enough. And then choose one smallest next step for your lowest field. I come to the closing. You cannot slow down the pace of global change, and you cannot fix deepfakes, geopolitics, or polarization on your own. To take one sober step, analyze what you can change and what you cannot. And then focus your energy on the few things that are truly within your power. You can protect your attention, clarify your mission and stance, partner with technology consciously, care for yourself, and build structures that support what really matters. This is self-leadership in a crazy world. So if you want to dig deeper, use the book, Lead Yourself in a Crazy World, as a practical guide, and pick the chapter that matches your current pressure point. This was today's episode of Self-Leadership with Dr. Bensmann. Before you move on, write down one small step you will actually take this week, just one, and schedule it. So, all the best, and speak to you in the next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on Self-Leadership with Dr. Bensmann. Until next time, stay committed to leading yourself with purpose.